Hello. My earlier video, the dog was menacingly barking to me, so I had to move. So let me continue. So the basic idea is I gave you the rough figures of 80, 90 countries, whatever, something like that. At least PISA 2022 math data, the entire range of the math poverty percentage share of the students in all these countries. Yes. So I have various different ways of achieving it, but one of my preferred way that I'm suggesting to all your government, your president, the minister of education, minister of economy, etc., is to maximize your chance to not to collapse miserably in the coming 5, 10, 15 years of artificial intelligence basically wiping out a ton of jobs. Yeah? And for that, as I already explained to you, one of the best way to achieve that, the preliminary way, is to minimize the math poverty. Yeah, because basic causal relation is if you have a math poverty, that means you cannot contribute to the modern form of economy because, and on top of that, make it even worse. Amplifying effect will come from the artificial intelligence wiping out a lot of jobs. So for that, over the past 10, 15 years, a lot of people, experts have tried to focus on this skill, but this skill, as I said before, this completion rate is consistently less than 5%. Basically, doesn't work if they can even complete. And in my interpretation, one of the key components is the math poverty. People of the math poverty, skilling is a total waste of time and money and misery and all those things. Yes, why? Let me give you some big clue. In the country, OECD country, when they have like a math poverty of 25 to 30% range, typically over the past 10, 20 years, 10 years, let's say, and at this 10, 15 years, and at the same time, the number of the jobs that they are going to wipe out is roughly about 30%, more or less. So 30% of reskilling job will be necessary, and for that, 30% of people, more or less, a math poverty percentage share, and they are not reskillable because of a math poverty. How can you reskill who cannot even do the basic, below the basic level of math? It simply doesn't work, yeah? So one of the most urgent part in order to avoid the national collapse, education-wise, economically, job-wise, everything. And the rest of them is going to affect, even make it worse for all this developed country, the population crisis. You have a population crisis, and for the population crisis, basically is a common interest of everybody, basically, at least the developed country, including my country, which is at the moment the worst the population crisis ever in the modern history. So this is basically what I'm proposing. So please, the government or the president and the ministers have to pay attention. And I'm trying to give you in this video for all those key players, executive people of each of your country, please listen carefully. In this video, I focus on the developed country, probably reaches the 15, 20 OECD level country. And after that, next video, I'm going to focus on more developing countries, yes? And first of all, so basically, I have to quickly resume what's happening is there is math poverty is one of the reduction rapidly, which the Ministry of Education over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, there is no way you get it. Simply not going to happen. The history proves it, right? Again, not to offend or insult anybody. It's not for the fans. So let's try to wake up from the brutal reality. Otherwise, entire your economy and education will collapse. So, and nobody wants that. So you need to be more open, I believe. So basically my idea is the first part of all this the mid-tier and the developed country, which has a 25-30% of math poverty ratio, or 50-60% of this country. Listen carefully. My first proposal to your government, my first priority is to have the math poverty. So let's say if you are from Qatar, United UAE, or Malaysia, this country, if you have roughly 50-60% of math poverty percentage share, quickly I intend to reduce it, halve it. So instead of 60%, 30%. 30% math poverty rate is usually more or less average Western developed countries, like average of France, Germany, United States. This country average roughly about 30%. Yeah, and quickly to get there, and in normal way, good luck. You are not going to get there in next 50 years. If you are lucky, 60, 100 years perhaps. So this is the one thing. And if you are going to be a developed country, which has a 25, 30%, let's say 30% of math poverty rate, make it go down basically 12, 13%, 11, 12, 13%, which is basically math poverty rate of a country like Taiwan, South Korea currently. So again, you know it, at least for the past 20, 25 years of PISA history, you all know all these Western countries have tried very, very hard, heavy funding to reduce their math poverty raising the average, all got miserably failed. And the only two countries, as far as I'm aware, that's afloat are just the United Kingdom and Ireland. They have been more horizontal, at least they didn't collapse, more or less horizontal past 20 odd years. But the rest of you, your governments basically have declined, equivalent to average 1.5, 2 years of math learning equivalent basically evaporated. And if you roughly 2 years of math equivalent, let's say 0.4 standard deviation collapse over the past 10 to 20 years, that means realistically equivalent of real GDP per capita of roughly half of your future gain disappeared. Why? Because basically this is, if you could gain this, you could double your real GDP per capita over the next 50 years or so. But this may, some education economists may disagree with you about these estimations of mine. Well, I know all the data. I know all the best top education economists, their estimation, in my opinion, very wrong. And I've been preparing to publish this autumn sequence of 20, 30, 40, 50 education economics paper. Although I'm not economist, I'm just going to publish in DOI, and I share to everyone. You can check it this autumn. So basically, that is the situation. So I'll give you the basically crude approximation of what's going to happen. So if you reduce the math poverty from let's say 50 to 25%, or let's say 30 to 12, 13%, something like that, this is roughly equivalent to, overall, historically speaking, equivalent to real GDP per capita basically doubling. And of course, instead of rising, you regressed, went back and to the past, and the economic collapse and the painful economic condition of the entire Western Hemisphere is coming, whether we like it or not. I'm not talking about the monetary policy and the quantitative easing, that kind of thing. From the purely average mathematics ability point of view alone, basically doomed. Yeah. So let's focus on to resolve this one quickly this decade before all the job wiped out because of not rescalable, because math poverty is way too much. It's simply not rescalable. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. Yeah. Again, I'm trying my best not to offend. I'm not trying to pick any specific country, but this is a situation of more than 90% of the country, of the developed Western country. So what can I say? Eastern European countries have been doing better, and the Western country, basically Western economy, what, 90%. Basically, this is going to happen. It's happened. So what I'm saying is that this is in this way I'm trying to avoid this thing, to avoid the total collapse, which nobody wants. So the next video, I'm going to basically focus on the point by point, particularly for the ministers, 7 ministers of your government and your president and the vice president. Please continue and watch carefully and share to everybody you know in your government. Thank you very much.